Hello, welcome once again to Pale Blooms and Beyond. Thank you for joining us today. If you do like the programming you see here and the musicians and artists that I speak with and visit with, please be sure and hit the like button below and also subscribe to the channel. Paul Quinton is an English singer, songwriter, and producer who was the frontman for South London's 60s harmony pop quintet, Five Steps Beyond. Members included Daryl Hitch, Euan Irwin, Ian Short, Paul, and Roger Winward. The unit recorded two acetates on the Oak label in 1965 and 1966. Then, after signing to CBS, there was a single, Not So Young Today, B-side, Meanwhile Back in My Heart. There were other unreleased tracks like Heartbreak Love or Paradise that would find their way onto various artist compilations in the future. Thankfully, three compilations of the band's material would appear in the late 1990s. Post Five Steps Beyond, Paul would go on to sing in the band Tinsel Arcade and then Isis. The Paul Quinton penned Life Does Not Seem What It Seems would also appear later on a couple of various artist compilations. Beginning in 1986, Paul would become owner at Big Top Music UK. Well, welcome, Paul.
Welcome, Greg.
We finally made it happen.
We did, yes.
Perseverance does pay off. Well, take us back to the beginning. Where were you born?
Born in Manchester, but at a very early age, moved straight down to London.
Okay, all right. I was going to say, you don't have that Manchester accent.
I don't.
It was interesting. Dave Mason, who's in Traffic and had the solo material. I've heard him speak several times. He lost his British accent completely. Because he's been in the States, I guess California forever, but you can't. There's no trace of it whatsoever.
Right, quite a few people moved over to California area. You've got John Anderson now from Yes, he's over there, isn't he?
Yes, you're right. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Well, do you recall your early childhood growing up?
I do. Yes, it was quite novel, to be honest with you. Music was in the family. Okay. My dad was a harmonica player, but his family, who only lived down the road from where we lived, played many, many instruments. His uncles and his aunts and his dad, which was my granddad, every Christmas, they used to form like a little band and they used to go round the streets wishing everybody Happy New Year and a Merry Christmas. It was a great time.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yes. The merry, what would you call them? Melodists that would go around and singing. Yes.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, you just mentioned your dad how about your mother? Was she inclined?
She was in a choir when she was younger, and because she was the one that was from Manchester.
Oh,
my dad came from London. That's the reason why we moved to London and his family. Whether my mum liked it or not is another matter. But she was in a choir up there, so that's probably where I've got my singing voice from.
Oh, okay. The genes were passed on. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, can you remember one of the first singles or albums that you bought yourself?
I can remember them all because at a Christmas time, I was bought a record player, a blue and white Dan Setti record player, and where all the records used to go on top and they used to flip down when one finished, if you remember. Right?
Yes.
And some of them were trad jazz, because I enjoyed trad jazz at that time. And some of them were the latest English pop artists of the time. Then I progressed on to the Beatles.
Oh, okay. I find it interesting. I always thought it was that your singles over there have the one small hole, that fits right onto the record player. We have to have the adapter. It's a larger hole, and then we have to have that little adapter. Why didn't they just over here cut to the chase and make them just like your singles?
I don't know, but when we used to get American singles over,
Yeah.
they used to have like a triangle in the middle, and
Okay,
you had
right.
to punch those triangles out if you
Right.
had a big slot, right? But
Right.
because we were on the small slots,
Yeah.
right, that triangle worked for us. Coral was one of those ones that used to. I've got a few of the Coral records that have got that triangle in the
That
middle.
that little triangle. Yes. Yes. We always had to get that little adapter thing
That's
with the
right.
record player. Well, how about were you as a teenager going to any live shows or concerts?
Well, yeah, I was. When I was an early teenager, probably about 15, when I was still at school, I used to go to the local sort of, they used to call it a jazz club,
Okay.
but it was mainly R&B acts like Georgie Fame, the
Yes.
Rolling Stones were there,
Yes.
some of the other well-known artists. They basically cut their teeth there.
Yes.
And I used to go uptown to a club called Studio 57, which was a Sunday afternoon gig. We used to go downstairs and we used to see many different bands down there as well. And they were my early childhood 15-year-old influences, shall we say.
Okay, that was my next question. Okay, talk about some of your influences. Okay, so that's that style of music. Yes, yes, yeah. Georgie Fame. Wow, and the Blue Flames. Yes, yeah.
Oh yes, I saw Georgie Fame about 2 3 years ago, actually,
Yeah.
at a Liverpool concert hall. It's still as brilliant as he ever was. But saying that, I moved on regarding my influences to that of the Beatles, and
Okay.
because of Five Steps Beyond and Roger Winward, he was very influenced by the Beach Boys.
Oh,
Hence, we did a lot of Beach Boys and harmony material. And that's where our music, our songs came from. Roger used to write them, and we used to do them mainly in 3 or 4 part harmony.
right. And even the album Smile. I think about Brian Wilson's Smile.
Oh, definitely. That's one of my all-time favorite, along with Pet Sounds, Smile, which it was only brought out in a complete version just a few years ago, as you know, because Brian always said he burnt everything. No, he
Yeah.
didn't.
Yes. Well, uh, what about the music scene that was developing around you as a teenager?
Um, it started to get influenced quite a bit by West Coast music. I'm talking about Grace Slick,
Yeah.
Jefferson Airplane, of course.
Yeah.
Also, the Birds.
Oh,
They were very influential in this country. And you got the Doors, which were equally as influenced me. Hence, that's the reason why when I left Five Steps Beyond and Tinsel Arcade was formed, we became more of a West Coast style act, still using the harmonies, although we're different people, because that was my influence, which was the harmony side of it. But we gave it a more sort of rocky feel, a sort of a mod rocky feel to the influences. Hence, life it doesn't seem what it seems.
right, right. And that was pre Crosby, Stills, Nash too. Yeah, yeah. When you were
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly,
another
exactly.
another West Coast band.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? When I first saw the name Five Steps Beyond, you know what I thought of was Madness, One Step Beyond.
Exactly, exactly. But we were a long time before
Yes,
madness, I
yes,
assure
you
you.
were. If anybody was borrowing, they were.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I knew that. Yes, and their music is nothing like that ska either. So
Our music isn't, no, nothing
no,
like it.
nothing like. Well, what was your very first band?
My very first band was at school. As I said, we were influenced by R&B, I was influenced by Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee, right? And that's going way back, right?
Yes. Yes.
And we called ourselves Vintage 57.
Mm.
Now, myself and two members of that band went on to join Ian Short to form Five Steps Beyond.
Oh, that's how that led up to that. Okay. Okay.
Now, Ian also went to the same school as us. So it was like a school reunion almost. And then Roger came to join us, who was at a school which was next to the school that we went to.
Was
so
it? Okay.
Quite weird, really. The five of us were very, very close, you know.
Yeah. And you didn't know each other before this, early on?
Obviously, I knew the original drummer, which was Jeff,
Okay.
Daryl Hitch, which was carried on to be the rhythm guitarist in Five Steps Beyond to the end, myself. We didn't know Ian, but obviously got to know him very quickly. And we didn't know Roger, who we got to know very quickly. When Jeff left, Roger suggested Euan to be our drummer.
Okay. All right.
So we had two Beck Grammar School boys and three Hillcroft Secondary School boys.
Yeah, that's interesting. I love to hear how bands come together and are formed like that. Was all the other members in the band, were you guys all kind of into the same kind of music?
Yes, we were, really. Okay. Yes. We developed together.
Yeah.
That's the best way of putting it. When Roger started introducing us to the Beach Boys, we all wanted to go along that train.
Okay. Okay. He didn't have to do a lot of finagling or coercing you guys. You were on board.
We were all on board. Yeah, we were all on board. And we were quite successful at what we did. I'm just sort of collating some of the gigs, the details about them, and a bit of a history about the band. I've been working on it now for about 3 or 4 years, but I've got to get it done soon because the memory cells ago.
Oh, yeah.
Sadly, Ian passed away earlier this year.
Oh,
I think you might know. And Roger passed away about 4 or 5 years ago. So we're delving into the written history rather than the verbal history.
Right, right. Now, was there a lot of memorabilia, pictures that were?
Oh, a lot of memorabilia. I kept everything. I kept all the diaries. I kept as many posters as I could.
Oh.
All the gigs that we did. I took notes of everything.
Well, that's good. It would be nice,
like Bill Wyman did for the Rolling Stones.
Right, right. Well, it'd be nice to see that, yeah, come to fruition, like you said, you know, and all that history there. Well, did you guys with Five Steps Beyond play a lot of live shows early on?
We did. We did a lot of live shows. We worked with some English well-known acts like the Riot Squad. Who else? There was quite a few that we played around. We played not just in London, but we played down on the South Coast. We also performed up into Essex area. So that was quite interesting. We used to travel around quite a lot.
Okay. Yes, yes, I was just looking at that. Joe Meek was involved with the Riot Squad, produced by Larry Page.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, Graham Bonney was in the OK band. Yes, okay. All right, interesting to hear those older bands like that too. Yes, yes. Well, did you guys support any bigger name acts or?
They were sort of second and third division acts, rather than the first division acts. We would have loved to have done the first division acts.
Okay. So with the couple of, well, let me ask you about recording the acetates, a couple of the acetates with Oak Records. Was that your first time in a studio?
It was, and very interesting. Big learning curve.
Ah,
Big
yes,
learning
yes,
curve.
yes, yes.
But it was straight to acetate rather than it was to tape then acetate. It was 2-track, as you do, but very, very enjoyable. And from that, we went into CBS studios to do the recording there.
Okay. Did you have to shop it around a little bit, the acetates? How did CBS become interested?
Well, we did shop it around a bit, and we landed with a company called Shapiro Bernstein Music Publishers. Cyril Shane, Peter Callender, who was a big songwriter, a lot of well-known hits in the UK. But then Cyril Shane's son, Stephen, he became our sort of mentor stroke behind the scenes manager. And by the way, he now lives in California.
Oh, he's another one. We talked about this before.
Yes, and I'm pleased to say that he and I are in contact all the time.
Oh,
After all this time, Stephen and I are still in contact. But yes, Stephen actually moved us onto CBS Records. He was the instigator of that. So I'm always grateful for what Stephen did for us.
okay, okay. Well, where did the band record the single "Not So Young Today"?
It was in the CBS studios in London,
Okay,
Bond Street. It
okay,
was.
okay.
There was the CBS studio was above one of the big shops, I think, up there, and that's where we recorded it.
Okay. Which of the tracks did you prefer? "Not So Young Today" or "Meanwhile Back in My Heart"?
Meanwhile, back in my heart,
Yeah.
and at the meeting
Yeah.
with CBS, it was very much a strong possibility. If Ian and Roger had put harmonies onto the chorus line, I think it would have been the top side.
Okay. All right. Yeah. 9 times out of 10, the band or the artist prefers the B side. That's why I asked you that.
Yeah,
It's usually the one that the artist feels really strongly about. It's maybe more artistic or creative. And a lot of times the band label is pushing the A side. So
yeah. It took me quite a time to actually record the vocals on Not So Young Today. It was a bit of a stretch. But with Meanwhile Back in My Heart, I did it on one take.
one take. Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's the reason why there weren't any backing vocals on it. They said, great, that's a take, and away we went. I wish if we had done it again to get balance or whatever, and the two guys had come onto it, then I think it would have been the A side.
The A side. Okay. All right. Yeah. It's like one of those things, you kind of live and learn from those experiences. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, so I take it the single didn't fare well.
Uh, Obvious for not obvious reasons, it didn't go quite as well as we wanted.
Yeah.
But a problem came because they did want us to record something else.
Oh, okay.
In those days, you were always told what you were going to record. You
Yeah.
weren't given a choice.
Yeah.
But Roger insisted that has to be one of his songs.
Okay.
Well, that didn't go down very well.
Okay.
And hence we left CBS. I wasn't happy about that. But then again, I didn't have a band around me because
Yes.
the others wanted to go with Roger.
Right.
So I then, as we're probably going to come on to, I went on and joined Tinsel Arcade.
Right. Yes. That's interesting. I like to hear those stories too. Well, yes, it seems as though Roger did write the majority of the songs,
He did. He did.
but I wanted to. Let me see if I get this from before we move on to Tinsel Arcade. Mention a few that you did write or co-wrote. and get your memories, inspiration, maybe stories behind the songs, if you can, if you would.
Yeah, Ian and I were the first songwriters. We were starting writing together together before Roger joined.
Okay, all right. Well,
Now, when Roger joined, as I said, I mentioned that we joined Shapiro Bernstein. They wanted us to record for Decca Records one of the songs that Ian and I wrote called Take Her Away. We went into Regent Sound Studios, Denmark Street in London. And from that, an acetate was made, which unfortunately no longer exists.
Oh, really? Okay.
Sadly, yes. And they were raving about it. And it went to Decca Records, but Decca Records had quite a number of groups on their books. So they weren't prepared to take us on at the time, which was very sad.
Yes,
that was before CBS, of course.
Right, that's unfortunate. Yeah, that was one of the songs I was going to ask you about. So Take Her Away. Yes. What about Yes, I Do?
That was more of a sort of a jazzy thing that Ian and I were influenced by. In later years, I slowed it down because with today's technology, you can do certain things, and I did that, and it sounds much better when it's slowed down to a pace that's more acceptable.
Okay. Yes. It's interesting how you figure those kind of things out over time.
Yes.
I Can't Get It Over to You.
That again was one of those songs that Ian and I wrote. It was, as you probably on listening to it, is very much bass influenced.
Yes, a lot of bass.
And because the intro is basically on the bass guitar, and which hence was Ian, because that was the way that we arranged the song. Later times, I've taken that song and re-recorded it, which I have, and renamed it and gave it more of a bossa nova feel.
Oh, I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, which was quite interesting, actually. Euan was able to put the bossa nova style to it, and I'm glad to say it was the last vocal that Ian ever recorded as backing vocals before his dementia fully kicked in.
That's around what year? How old was he at that time when it started?
Oh, we probably did it about 6-7 years ago.
Okay, yeah. See, my father passed away. He had Parkinson's and dementia, and both of those.
Terrible.
Yeah.
The person, sadly, with dementia, the person still lives, but is really dying in front of you.
Right. Yes, those last few years were really difficult. Yes.
Yeah.
He couldn't remember anything. Well, let's see, a couple more. Little Peter.
Little Peter was a collab between, although Roger disputes this, he and I wrote it after Five Steps Beyond had gone. Roger and I kept in contact because he formed a recording company, and he brought me on board to do certain things. And we wrote that together, albeit I didn't put a lot into it, but I was still a collab and had influence on it. But to this day, and I put my vocal on it, of course. But for a long time, Roger said that I hadn't put anything to it. But then again, so be it.
Yes.
That's in the past.
Right. Leave it in the past. Yes. Yeah. And then one final track I wanted to hear about, No Heart.
Now that is one song that really should have been one of our singles. I've re-recorded that recently. It's been released and that did very well. It was also released as a dance track in the mid 2000s, which was done by some remixers in America.
Is that right?
Yes, a guy called Mark Hagan was one. Rick Cross, who lives in New York, he was another one, and they were done. It was done as a dance track.
Isn't it interesting how songs like that will travel through time?
Yes, they can.
And become more popular, maybe on a different format or
Yeah,
genre.
that's right.
Yeah, yes, and isn't that fascinating? Well, I wanted to ask you too about some of the compilations that were more recent. How did you first hear about 10th Planet wanting to release Faint Hearts and Fair Maids?
What happened was Roger, I think through his wife Leslie, who's also sadly passed away last year, he or her got involved with David Wells, who had a company at that time called Planet Records, right?
Okay.
Now, he put out a series of LPs that were specialists, 1,000 off pressings, and he used to sell them. And he did one for the company called Oak Records. That's how Roger became involved, and he put one of Five Steps Beyond's songs up there. But after that, Roger had spoken to David Wells about all the other all the other tracks for Oak Records that he had. Hence, it came about that the first Five Steps Beyond track album came out round about 97. After that, I said, are you going to put it out as a CD? And David Wells said no. So I became involved and licensed it to, because we had the license for all the tracks, of course, because they were our recordings. I licensed it to Acme Records.
Okay.
Down in the south coast of England. So we had the CD of it come out. After that, Roger did a deal with David again, 10th Planet, and recorded the Smile album, or put the tracks on for Smile, the Smile album.
Or Smile Out, right? Yes, yeah. I thought that was interesting. The first couple were on vinyl, like you said, and then finally that on Acme, that release with a whopping 23 tracks on that CD.
That's right. That's right.
Not so young, not so young today. Yes. Very interesting. Yes. So they're out there. Has that pretty much drained the vault of all the material?
There is a lot of other material.
Oh, is it?
Some of it isn't. Some of it is recoverable because I've got all the tapes that Five Steps Beyond have ever recorded, live, everything, reunions. I've got the whole lot, and I've been listening to nearly all of it. Some of it is experimenting in songwriting different songs, so that really isn't a journey.
Okay. Right. Well, beginning in the new millennium, Five Steps Beyond, and we'll get to Tinsel Arcade. Both of those tracks would appear on various artist compilations.
That's correct.
3 Grapefruit label compilations, a subsidiary of Cherry Red. And that's my go-to label, Cherry Red, for finding out about a lot of obscure bands and artists.
Because I did that. I did that deal with John Reed,
Okay.
to license again all the tracks that
Yeah.
David Wells had, right? Because obviously I owned the license to all of those tracks, and then David put them on some of his compilations that he's still got a Tinsel Arcade track that he hasn't put out yet, but they came about. He took the Tinsel Arcade track, as you know, and he took a couple of the Five Steps Beyond tracks that he put onto his compilations.
Yes, yes. Again, that's how I've got so many various artist compilations here, and that's how I find out about a lot of bands.
Yeah.
But before we move on to Tinsel Arcade, what did the members do after Five Steps Beyond, the other members?
Right. Euan carried on the music side of things. Joined a couple of his brothers who were also also musicians. Well, three actually. Colin, Neil, and Ross. They went around London just playing in clubs and pubs and weddings and things like that. Daryl, unfortunately, didn't carry on the musical career, but went into more of the art side, cameras, photography, things like that. Roger, he didn't do very much on the music side, although he did experiment with productions and things like that, as we know. We've talked about that. But he went into jukeboxes, mending jukeboxes,
Yeah,
and selling jukeboxes. So that was an interesting career for him.
Oh yes, yes. I can still remember going to restaurants and different places when they had the jukeboxes in there. Yeah, those were.
Oh, definitely over in America, definitely.
Yes, we had quite a few. Yeah, yeah, and they always had the songs. A lot of the songs that you wanted to hear. On there too. And well, next up for you was Tinsel Arcade. How did that all come to pass?
Well, in 1967, when I left Five Steps Beyond, I was obviously searching for another band who I felt I fitted in with. And I joined a band called The Sight, who morphed into Tinsel Arcade. We started off as The Sight in a more modern era style of that time, hence, the music of the Action and people like that.
Yes,
You probably know the name, the Action.
yes, yes. Kind of a mod type.
It's sort of a semi-mod thing, yeah, like a Small Faces thing.
Yes.
Right. But that wasn't very fulfilling for me, and also for the bass player Carl. And we then, as I said, morphed into Tinsel Arcade. Carl and I used to write songs which were very sort of folky, sort of Donovan-esque, and influenced by the Byrds. So hence we looked more towards the West Coast, and covered quite a few of those songs that came over, and some of our own songs we put in.
Okay. Well, there's not much at all on the internet about Tinsel Arcade, and I've looked, except, in reference to the song "Life Does Not Seem What It Seems."
I agree.
Which you wrote. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it would be nice to see if there was more, on there, but no, that's a nice track. I have to tell you, I enjoyed that one. And that's one of those that would end up on one of those compilations later on. Yes.
It did. What happened, very strange this was, coincidentally strange. A particular person contacted me who used to produce 1,000 Off records. right? And he had come across a acetate, which was Oak Records, again, acetate, with the name Tinsel Arcade on it.
Ah, okay.
At the same time, David Wells was talking to me about Oak Records that I had recorded, Tinsel Arcade, Life Doesn't Seem What It Seems. David became aware of this other guy, because it's a small community that was doing these thousands off. He then contacted me for permission to use my songs, because he didn't know anything about the song at all.
Oh,
so it was like a triangle.
yeah.
So it ended up with David Wells putting it out, and then this other guy putting it out on his compilations as a CD and as a vinyl track. So 3 bites of the cherry.
There you go. There you go. Well, let me ask you this. Have you heard any resurgence of interest in either Five Steps Beyond or Tinsel Arcade?
Well, 5 Steps Beyond is always bubbling.
Okay.
Always bubbling.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I can't contact or get in contact with any of the past members of Tinsel Arcade. I've tried to track them down, okay, but I've been unable to do. And I can't find the diary that I had for them. So I've lost that sort of side of things. And I'm really quite disappointed with myself that I've lost that diary.
Yeah, yeah. Well, how long was the Tinsel Arcade together? How long were you?
Probably about 18 months.
Okay, about 1.5 years. Okay, all right, all right. Well, ISIS was next.
It was 1969.
Okay.
Started.
All right. Who was in that unit?
Phil and Paul, they were brothers. Keith, he was bass player, and as I said, Phil was the guitarist and also my co-writer, may I add. Paul was the keyboard player, Colin was the drummer, and Keith was the bass player. We still keep in contact even now.
Good, good.
We even reformed in 2000, the year 2000, and played together for 5 years up until 2005. So from 1969, the sort of middle to about the end of 71, we were together the first time. Second time, 2000 to 2005.
Wow, like 30 years later. Yes, you guys got together. Well, what was the impetus behind getting back together after all that time?
We used to keep seeing each other on and off, speaking to each other on and off. And in the end, someone says, well, let's just get together and do a few gigs. So a few gigs turned into 5 years.
Well, what was the response from the audience? Were there a lot of that remembered you?
A great response, because we were playing the songs of that period, which I would term progressive rock.
Okay, okay.
In the sort of mode of Yes, we were heavily influenced by the group Yes.
Okay.
I saw them many times. Mott the Hoople was another influence.
Oh yeah, love Mott the Hoople. Yes.
Yeah. But the early Mott the Hoople, not all the young dudes.
Okay.
Pre all the young dudes.
Right.
And we used to see them a lot. We were influenced by Argent, if you remember them.
Yes, I sure do. Yes, I do.
We used to see them before they even recorded the first album. We used to go and watch them. They were absolutely brilliant.
Did you see my interview with Russ? Is it Russ Ballard or Ballard?
Russ Ballard, yeah.
Okay, I say Ballard, and I've
Ballard, yeah, Russ Ballard, yeah.
Oh yeah, Yeah, he was really, really nice guy, nice guy.
I even went to Argent's final gig, and Jim
Mhm.
Rodford was still in the band at that time.
Yes, yeah.
They finished their days at the Robin in the West Midlands. Oof, I don't know, about 5, 6 years ago, and that was an amazing gig. Absolutely amazing that was.
Oh yeah, and I've heard Rod is not doing well these days.
No, he's had a stroke, hasn't he?
Yes, yes, he had, and so he's had to step back. He's not playing live or anything with Colin on those tours. Yeah, that's sad to hear that too. But yeah, I mean, a huge Zombies fan too. So going back,
Yeah, and myself and Zombies very influential.
oh yes, I just love that Baroque pop sound that they had. And
Yes, yes.
so to me,
Coming back to Colin,
yes,
actually,
yes,
Five
yes,
Steps Beyond.
yes.
If you go back to the sleeve notes, I think it is with David Wells, he refers to me as having the golden tones, vocal tones of Colin Blunstone.
Yes, yes. Now that's a high compliment right there. That's
Thank you very much, David. You know,
it is. 'Cause I've always loved his vocals. That's just what made the music, I think.
yes.
Well, the music was there too, of course, but just the combination just really made it special, special. Well, how about recordings with ISIS? Were there any recordings left behind?
Yes, we recorded for Philips Records. Unfortunately, it never got released with a company called Francis Day and Hunter, which was a music publishing company. The producer was Terry Brown, who I knew quite well. He was producer for Pi Records.
Yes.
So I've met quite a few people in my time being in the music industry, and still in the music industry, of course. But uh, that I got the acetate for still. I have done a lot of work on that acetate, and have taken a lot of tracks that ISIS recorded live and recorded as songwriting demos, the five of us, and I'm putting together an album of ISIS songs that I will be releasing at that
Oh,
time.
great. Wonderful.
They're very much in the style of the progressive rock, as I said, more towards the rock side than I would say the ISIS side, but it's with the organ. Paul on the organ, he was influenced very much by some of the classical songs. So you've got that sort of influence, like Whiter Shade of Pale in there.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Right. Was there any nice Keith Emerson influence or
Oh no, Keith Emerson was one on his own.
okay, okay.
He
And I think
was absolutely fantastic, you know, especially when he used to stick the Bowie knife into the
yes,
keyboard, if you remember.
right, he did. Yeah, it's like, well, if the Who could, like destroy guitars and kick over the drum kits, why couldn't, he do that with the knives?
He did. He did. He did.
He did. Another,
Talking about my past influences again, bringing it together. You just reminded me of one thing. I went and saw. I was influenced by Vanilla Fudge.
oh,
Very influenced by them. I loved them from the very first time I heard "You Keep Me Hanging On." I was influenced by them, and I went to see them at the Seville Theatre that was owned by Brian Epstein at the time, supporting the Who. Well, unfortunately, the Who were blown off the stage. Everybody was Vanilla Fudge mad afterwards, and with them rocking the organ, because we're talking about Keith Emerson as well, right? Smoke was billowing off the organ when Vanilla Fudge were playing, which was just phenomenally brilliant. Eleanor Rigby was just incredible.
Yes. I love their version of that. Yes.
Yeah.
I have heard that. Yes. Oh, that's nice to hear those influences, like you said, as well. Well, it's
Yeah.
good that you've got some things in the works too, like you said, releasing and a lot of this material and uh, mastering it and things like that. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. I do quite a bit of production work where I can, and where I can't finish things off, I take it into a local studio and we put it up on either the desk or we put it up onto the virtual desk and work it that way. You know, and I've got a couple of people that I work with, and I'm really happy. We talk the same language. They understand what I want. I may say things that are not tech correct, but they understand what I want.
Yeah, yeah. You're on the same vibe, wavelength there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, bridge the gap a little bit. After ISIS, what did you do before Big Top Music?
Um, in the UK, there's a chain of ballrooms called the Mecca Dance Halls.
Oh, I've heard of them. Yes, yes.
Yes. I joined one of the resident bands there. And from 1973 to 1981, I was with a Mecca resident band, or had my own resident band at one of the ballrooms. So I worked with a band leader and then became a band leader.
Okay. Now the Mecca, I may be thinking of something else. Was that where they had the Northern Soul
They
night?
did have Northern Soul nights. Yes,
Okay.
they did have
Okay.
Northern Soul nights.
Okay. All right.
But what used to happen is the Mecca ballrooms used to have two bands on each night, the resident band and a resident trio that used to play the hits of the day and to all the customers that came in, the clients that came in. And also on free nights, they used to have people like Thin Lizzy on and things like that. And obviously the Northern Soul nights. So yeah, I was lucky enough to have quite a long career with 8 years with Mecca dance halls.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I've got a few of those Northern Soul collections, and that's how I found out about a lot of you guys over there were picking up on 45s over here. From R&B artists, soul bands, musicians that we weren't even hearing about.
That's
And
right.
yeah.
Now, one of my best friends, and you probably know his name, is Kev Roberts.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
Right. Now, I've known Kev for a long time now, since the mid-80s, I think. Yeah. And he used to go over to America with an empty suitcase, fill it full of vinyl 7-inch records,
Yeah.
and bring them back.
Right, right. Yes, Northern Soul DJ and promoter. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, And then so many of them like us, we, weren't being played over here, but then they were really quality songs. They were really good.
Well, they were like a sort of a R&B version of Motown.
Yes, yes,
Motown became commercial, where Northern Soul still kept its roots
yes,
in that style,
right.
and hence it became a big thing in the UK, a big thing, particularly in the north area of like Wigan and
Right, Wigan,
things like
Wigan.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Well, how did you come to start up Big Top Music? How did that all start?
With Kev Roberts.
Ah, okay. All right. There we go.
Kev moved on to what was at the time High Energy Records. which was predominantly for the gay scene at the time, right? I went to work in a recording studios locally, and Kev was a client there making some of these high energy records. Kev and I got together. There was a particular recording of a young lady that I knew quite well, and I wanted to release it. I didn't know how to go about it, and Kev taught me the ropes, basically.
He did, okay.
Yeah.
And then you're still involved, like you said.
Right? I'm still involved.
Yes.
I've got Big Top Records, Big Top Music UK, which is a publishing company. And in the mid-90s as well, I used to do a lot of record promotion for big record labels, Polydor, CBS, a lot of big record labels that were based in London. I used to take them round to the radio stations. Radio 1 at the time, before it morphed into Radio 2. I used to just walk into the BBC Radio 1 studios and just hand out the records and say, guys, I think you might be interested in this. Yeah. So I was like the record promoter.
Right. Wow. Well, that's got to be kind of a fun job to have, doing that too.
It was.
Yes. Well, Paul, anything else? Talk a little bit about some other things that may be in the works, upcoming.
Well, unfortunately, I don't know if you're aware of this, but about 3 odd years ago, which has sort of ended my vocalizing, I got throat cancer. My voice might be a bit different. I'm not sure. That end, I'm not sure. It sounds different to me because the radiotherapy that I had damaged my hearing. It damaged. I suffer from tinnitus a lot. It obviously didn't affect my vocal cords to a point where I couldn't speak, but it's caused me to have no taste buds. It's caused me to have no saliva, which has caused me a lot of problems. Hence, singing is quite difficult for me at the moment.
Okay.
And unfortunately, what's happened with taste buds, I can't have any spicy food at all. Can't eat curry. Okay. Can't eat anything with black pepper in it.
Okay.
And I don't taste food at all. I eat to consume rather than enjoy. Sadly.
Okay. Yeah. My over as getting older, my taste buds are the same, but my stomach doesn't react real well to spicy food. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. My wife is from Indonesia.
Oh, right.
And she loves all that spicy
Oh dear,
stuff.
oh dear, yeah.
And then my son and we get tired of it. And we like the more bland stuff without the spicy. And she's always she could eat it every day, she could. Yeah. So, but all right. Well, again, it's been enjoyable. And Paul, and I think people watching this, fans of your past bands and material, will maybe anticipating some of the things that you've talked about maybe coming to fruition. Some of the mastering or retaping, reissuing. Yeah, some even if it's in a different genre or format. I think that would be nice. People looking forward to hearing those and seeing that come out. So
yeah. Well, I will keep in contact. I will send you something over regarding ISIS, and I think you might enjoy it.
Yes, please do, because I don't have anything that I know of. No, I don't from ISIS.
Right. Well, I've got it. I've got it in MP3 and WAV format now.
Okay.
But I will be taking it in and tweaking it a little bit. But
Okay.
I will send you over what I've got at the moment.
Okay. That sounds good. That sounds good. All right, Paul. Well, thank you again, and for your perseverance to getting this working.
And thank you, Greg, and also everybody else out there who's listening. I really appreciate you listening to my story.
Yes, that's what it's all about, sharing your story. All right. Well, thanks again, Paul, and all the best to you. Okay. And
Thank you very much.
we will be in touch. And I will
Thank you.
send you a copy of this probably next weekend.
That's fabulous. Thank you very much.
All right. Bye bye for now.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Bye bye.